on about, well, why don't we go talk to Dr. Clearfield because he has some things that he's been doing. So we're going to talk to Dr. Clearfield. Michelle has been sharing stuff. So if you haven't seen any of her podcasts, I think we recorded 2 already. Haven't we, Michelle, at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just go here. My name is Rhonda Liebig, and we have Michelle Perry Roberts. And we have Dr. Clearfield, and he is with the Clearfield Medical Group. Did I say that right, Dr. Clearfield? Is
You got it right.
that what it's called? Clearfield Medical Center.
No, it's technically clinic, but we like group.
Oh, so it's clinic.
Makes us sound more bigger than we are. So
I know, but I can't wait to talk about these peptides and support group you're doing. So let me get an introduction. I'm going to first introduce Michelle Perry Roberts, and then we'll go with Dr. Clearfield. So Michelle Perry Roberts, I think at this point, she has dealt with 7 to 8 chronic diseases, and it just keeps going on. But her conversation around this is the stress and the things that happen in the past. From one day she was very, very ill, went to the hospital, and she ended up flatlining, and she lost a lot of her life, and she lost a lot of her health and wellness, and she's been building it. And this is how she has her connect with Dr. Clearfield today. So I can't wait till we get in that conversation. We're going to get there in a moment. Michelle is a vibrant woman, and I've known her for years, and I'm watching her health and wellness build. It's miraculous to me because I only knew Michelle for who she was when I first met her. And I said, oh, Michelle's is wonderful. What I started noticing is that Michelle couldn't remember like numbers sometimes. She couldn't remember certain things. And her flow in her body, she's learning more about how, because she's a curious person and she's realized this from years ago. But as she gets more curious, because she keeps accumulating information based on what, the stuff that she's been researching, to asking these questions. We're going to go deeper into that as we get into questions with Dr. Clearfield. Welcome in Michelle Perry Roberts, patient advocate and host and podcast of I'm Not My Diagnosis. Welcome in, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. And at first, I just wanted to tell you, how Dr. Clearfield and I met is I couldn't get my hormones right. I was tired all the time, couldn't sleep, and he's known for the king of hormones in the business in Reno. But he has patients from all over that he helps. But really, by having the bioidentical hormones, they're plant-based, they're pellets, it's really brought my life back. And working with Dr. Clearfield, he had a very successful semaglutide and trizepetide diet program. But what was missing was a support group. So we want to talk about Dr. Clearfield. He definitely knows a lot about semaglutide, the peptides, and trizepetide. And there's so many different things. So Doc, you want to give us your 15 cents of the program that you have?
Well, I've been doing weight management, weight control for 40 plus years.
Wow.
So we have all the way back to, it was a commercial. We didn't use their product, but you might remember it. A shake for breakfast, a shake for lunch, and a sensible dinner. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember.
You guys
totally.
MetaFast.
Right? Well, it was a commercial product, but we used MetaFast, which was a sort of a medical grade, and it was basically it was a protein sparing modified fast, and we put you on a sort of a limited diet, but after a couple of days, that if you used our protein supplements, the hunger went away, and the patients did pretty well with it. And we actually married it to I had gone to the University of Wisconsin La Crosse and had become a cardiac rehab specialist. So this was in the era right after the low-fat diet craze came about, and it was the way heart disease was and high, those kinds of issues was dealt with was the patients were told, 43-year-old men and women, if they had a heart attack, they were told stay in bed for 6 weeks. And that didn't seem quite right. And if I go back 10 years before that, when I was in medical school, we had had to do a month's rotation, and I ended up was at a hotel in Santa Monica, on Santa Monica Pier, for a month. And it was the I didn't know it really at the time. It just sounded interesting to me, but it was it was called the Pritikin Clinic, and that was really the first sort of inklings that diet might have something to do with heart issues and obesity. And they got a lot of things right. They got a few things wrong. But they put a news ad in the newspaper in the Los Angeles area, and they would say, if you had a heart attack and we're told to go home and stay in bed, call us. So at the time, it was just men. I remember this is 1977. It was just men. And we put them on a 10% fat diet, and we made them walk. First, some of them could only go 50 feet. But by the time they were done, the time I was done, I was there for 4 weeks. They were going 2-3 miles, and, some of them got better. So that was kind of the beginnings of it. And then we did now they call it intermittent fasting, but we called it protein sparing modified fasting. Everything new is old again, is old.
Hey, Dr. Clearfield, I have a question for you, because it sounds like, if you could kind of share a story around that, is that when I thought about like what this conversation was going to be about, I definitely was like, okay, this is about weight loss. But what I really hear, if I'm accurate, that weight loss, actually, you got motivated around that because of heart conditions. Like you were looking at the body and some of the things that were happening.
Well, so what happened was we had these really great husband and wife team when I was in medical school. They were the biochemistry teachers. And the guy the man had a heart attack. He was 43, and they told him to stay in bed, and we would go visit him. I mean, the guy was, everybody in the school loved him, and they, and I'm saying to him, that doesn't sound right. I said, you're going to sit here and you're watching him deteriorate. He's 43 years old, and they told him he had to stay in bed for 6 weeks, and he could only walk, go so far. And they gave him a bunch of medicine, which I don't remember what it was then. And he had another heart attack a year and a half later, and he died. And, he was 47 years old. And I said, that just doesn't seem right. Fast forward 10 years. Now we made them get out of bed. We made them walk. We watched their diet, and half of them got better. So we're much better at it now than even then. But that was kind of the beginnings of it. Yeah. And you have to remember that's when we, as genius doctors, told everybody not to eat fat. And so everybody got fat from that. So,
isn't that bizarre?
The obesity rate in the United States went from 15% in 1982 to 70% in 2012. So,
Dr. Clearfield, you must have been taking care of so many people when it came not just to obesity, but the illnesses around, like the higher sugar and everything that comes along with that.
And so I was in Northeast Pennsylvania, which was sort of like an incubator for internal medicine. Just about every disease you can think of sort of goes through there. It was a Eastern European ethnic community there. That's where the coal miners came, and coal was gone for 20 years by the time I got there. But the residuals were there, and the old world customs are sometimes difficult to break. So. I mean, I had never lived any place else where there was a kielbasa shop on the corner, so they don't have that in Reno that I know of.
No, they don't. Well, now, did you do the fen-phen diet when that was?
No, I did not do the fen-phen diet. No, I did manage to miss that one. I got kind of diverted during that time and went to I went to UCLA and I learned acupuncture. So I was actually doing acupuncture, and I started an acupuncture clinic in a rehab hospital in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania in 1994, believe it or not. And we were able to demonstrate that we were able to get the patients out of the rehab hospital on average 4 days earlier, which, first they didn't want to pay us, but then when all the insurance companies saw that, hey, we were actually saving them money, they were all for it. So that was kind of a coup. That was pretty good. That lasted for quite a while. And then I had some sort of personal issues at home. And by the time those things got resolved, I was kind of out on my own. even though I had 2 children. By that time, they had grown up and moved away. The dog had died, and and I was
Those
the
jobs
house
don't
dad.
last long enough.
Yeah, so my son was in theater. I was the house dad. I was the little league coach. I was the Daisy Scout coach, Daisy Scout leader. I was the girls softball coach. I did all of that stuff. And now the kids are grown and gone, and you know, I'd go to work all day, and I go to the gym, and then I had to find something else to do. So
He likes dancing.
yeah, so I was kind of I was always kind of a little bit of a again, I'm doing acupuncture. We did a little bit of herbal remedies, things like that, and that was about right when functional medicine was starting to become a thing. And I went to Las Vegas. Now remember, I'm living in Northeast Pennsylvania for a conference, because they needed education credits, and it wasn't very interesting. It was basically one of those sign in and then leave and go play. But across the hall was another medical conference going on, so I kind of wandered in there, and it was all about. They were talking about hormones. They were talking about testosterone and estrogen and replacing them, and they started talking about a lot of psychological and psychiatric issues tied to hormones. And I said, and we saw a lot of that. And the psychiatric, the antidepressant Medicaid, the newer ones had just come out in the last few years. So at the time, Prozac and Zola, those are old hat now, but those were brand new then. And, they worked a little better than the older ones that were there. But, again, still not 100%. And they're talking about, balancing hormones in someone in their 40s and 50s seems to help with a lot of mental issues and psychological issues.
Wow.
So I went home. So I sat and listened to it, and I went home, and I didn't quite know what I was doing, but that again was the beginning. So we put together what we had learned from the protein sparing modified fasts, and then I started looking into doing questions that we would ask the patients with a hormone sort of philosophy. So things like are you agitated, irritable, can't sleep? We'd have young ladies, and in the hormone world, age 35 to 50 is young, and they would have these symptoms, and then we were putting them on these SSRI medications, again, Zoloft and Celexa and Lexapro, and again, they were a little bit better, but not a whole lot. And then I learned in the hormone world that the first hormone that dissipates when menopause begins is progesterone, which is the second half of your cycle. So, so symptoms like again, I already mentioned it: it's agitation, irritability, can't sleep, poor libido, headaches. Well, whoever put us together didn't have put together a Prozac deficiency, but progesterone's a whole different story, and it took takes a couple of weeks to even out. And we play Goldilocks, not too much, not too little. And as time went on, we learned more and more. We didn't really have a whole lot to go on back then in the early 2000s. All we really had to go on with the gym rats, the guys that usually guys in their late teens and early 20s that were doing steroid bodybuilding stuff. So we started off with that, and then we realized that what they were doing really wasn't the right way to go. And some of it was trial and error. You look at lab values, and they're all over the place. Those are what's known as two standard deviations. So it's 95.4% of whatever you're measuring. So as an example, a vitamin D level, which we never did back then, 30 to 100 is normal. Well, okay.
Dr. Clearfield, I have a question for you here. As you're going through this, so all of this, and Michelle, I bet you have a question too along with this, and I'll make sure you grab that next question. With hormone, and you're talking menopause in your journey, you're probably seeing all these fluctuations in the body of like weight gain also. So when
Correct.
you were, I know for sure that we're focusing on peptides and we talked about the fen and all that. Is this when you started going into the journey of learning more? It was peptides around, or what was
Right.
the
Well, yeah.
next
So
arena
yeah,
there?
peptides came about around 2009, 2010, at least for me. They've been around a while. In fact, the first peptide, insulin is a peptide, by the way. So, uh,
Oh,
but the first peptides that we started working with were around 2009, 2010, around then, and we used one called BPC 157, which was it actually came from the gastric juice of dogs. It was actually discovered by Pavlov. You remember Pavlov with
Yeah.
the bell and the dog and all. He actually extracted it, and it's a protein that or an amino acid that came from the gastric juice of dogs. And in Tsarist Russia, which is where he was, he actually used this for stomach ulcers and dyspepsia, that kind of thing. And it's quite potent. It works quite nicely for GI issues. And so when the peptides that we're talking, that you're more interested in here is the weight loss ones, and they're actually were made for diabetics. Your semaglutides, trizepetides. Those have actually been around in one form or another since about 2005. They were pill form first. I mean, some of them are still around. There was one called, the trade name is Januvia, is one. Then around 2009, 2010, I forget which company made it. They came out with something called Byetta, and that was a shot, and it was every day. And about a year
wow.
later, they came around and made a second one, which was a weekly shot, because these have longer half-lives, and that was called Byduron. And all of these medications, then came Trulicity. And Trulicity actually got an FDA-approved indication for weight loss. And all of these medications secrete hormones into your brain and into your GI tract that tell you that you're not hungry, and it slows everything down. And they were okay. They were very expensive. Every once in a while, someone would want them, and unless they were diabetic, they were $1,500 a month. I've seen $2,000 a month, so they were kind of not practical. 2000 cents. So every year or two, and another company comes out with another version of the base. It's like Zoloft and Xanax, or wrong, Zoloft and Prozac and Celexa, and all they're all SSRIs. They all do the same thing. They're all slightly different. So Byetta, Trulicity, there's a couple of others. Then Ozempic came out in 2017, and the weight loss component was threefold. Up until then, we had been using HCG, which is a pregnancy hormone, and sometimes phentermine, which is part of the fen-phen. I mean, we still use that. So, and then a couple of other things happened. So in 2020, about the FDA decided that the where we get our HCG, they weren't allowed to make it anymore for some reason. I don't even know why. So they kind of became difficult to get. And
So
that's
what
when.
does it look like, Dr. Clearfield, with somebody walking into your clinic? How do you take care of them to, work? Because I know we're going to talk about your support group, but what does that look like when somebody's walking in? They say, "I want to have that
Well,
support
it
around weight
depends.
loss."
It depends on their motivation. So we have two big groups. We have the lifestyle. I want sort of like whole body. I want to be optimize my health group, and then there's the group that just wants to lose weight. And we try to move the second group into the first if we can. Those that just want to lose weight and don't really want to pay attention to the rest of their being usually don't do all that well. So, so we try to move them, as best we can into we got to look at the whole picture. So, and our whole picture looks like we look at everything, like I said, through the lens of hormone excesses and deficiencies. We cover everything anybody else covers, but we sort of look at it from a different angle. So, like I mentioned, with the young lady who comes in with, they're kicking the dog and they're screaming at their kids and they hate their husband, and they're 42 years old and their periods are irregular and their breasts hurt, and that's not here. Load you up on antidepressants and antipsychotic medications. That's the hormones are starting to go away. The first one that goes away is progesterone, and those are symptoms of low progesterone. So that's what we look at, and that's kind of how we deal with things. I had another a guy. He was a veteran, had been had a head injury in the Gulf War in Iraq, and he showed up in my office. He had no hair. I mean, literally no hair. He didn't have any head hair. He didn't have a beard. He didn't have any hair anywhere, and he hadn't had any for 20 years. And he had been a bit of a social outcast. He was basically living under a bridge, and he came to my office, and I started asking him questions, and I'm saying, that sounds like a testosterone deficiency. That sounds like a growth hormone deficiency. And like almost every hormone, we look at 10 specifically, at least to start. He had basically the symptoms of low hormones in just probably about 7 or 8 of them. So he was a veteran. We sent a lab slip to the VA, and of course they laughed at us and said, forget about it. So we have a sort of a cash lab that we deal with. I paid for it myself. It was about $300. And sure enough, came back. He basically had no hormones. So we learned a lot from him, because we wanted to fix everything right away. Well, we learned that somebody who hasn't very depleted, if you try to give them full doses right away, they have a lot of side effects, we'll call it, or reactions to it. So we had to start slowly. It's the frog in the warm water versus throwing the lobster into the boiling water kind of thing. We've learned to sort of take things slowly. So it takes us 3 to 6 months at a minimum to sort of get somebody up to speed. But when we do it that way, we can do it, in a very controlled way, very safely, with very minimal to no side effects.
So, and you started your semaglutide, I think and trizepetide. You're one of the first in Reno to bring it to town.
Yeah. So it was near the end of the pandemic. We've been stuck in the house for 2 years, and one of the big anti-aging conferences is always every year in December in Las Vegas. So December 2021, we were sort of let out, and we got to see all of our old friends again, and so by that time Ozempic had become a thing, and trizepitide, Mounjaro had had been released, and so we started talking to some of our compounding pharmacy friends. Most of them are based in Florida, and there's a lot of side effects with those peptides. Half the patients in the literature can't take them. They take one dose and it makes them so ill that they won't take it anymore. So we were trying to figure out ways to how do we get around it. And so the one of the sort of bonuses is that since the GLP-1s, the peptides had actually been around since 2005, we were able, and then there was a shortage of them. We were able to get the raw powders, and we were able to add some things to them. So we added some ingredients. We added the BPC 157 that I mentioned, and that worked too well. The FDA made us take it out last September. So they gave all sorts of reasons why, but nothing that I've ever seen. And I've been working with that stuff for over 20 years. We put some vitamin B6 in it. B6 is if you're pregnant, you get morning sickness. That's what's used. So we put that in it, and then we hit on we hit on using some fresh ginger, like from you get in a Japanese restaurant. And we put all those things together, and instead of doing one big slug at once every week, we started doing little mini doses, and that seemed to work a lot better. We had very few side effects. I mean, we got down to the point where if I get one person every 2 months tell me that they can't take it, that's a lot. We get as good as the results or better than the commercial products, and and our cost is about a third of the commercial products too. So we did quite well with that, and that's kind of where we're at with that. But again, I'm only one person, and to do it right, we really need to do a follow-up. So we do have a meal plan that's made specifically for the GLP-1. So I mean, we don't leave you out in the cold there. And it's actually online. We send it to the patients, and it runs for at least 90 days. And they get recipes and menus every month, every day. And they get
exercise.
They get exercise plans. They'll get and a lot of them are geared right just for them, and they're made for it to be used with the peptides. It's not just a generic type thing. So
And
that's a bonus also.
well, and
But
the reason the reason why we started the support group is that people are still having a lot of questions and need more information.
Yeah, there's never enough. This is there's way too many myths out there, and so we try to dispel some of them, and we do the best we can. Food industry is way more powerful than us, so but we do our little thing. So. And most of the patients who show up at our door, they're already motivated to do better, to be better. So
I think one of the best things is having this support group is getting people, that need to get back in, because it's something that everybody's looking for. Nobody in Reno is doing a support group on semaglutide and trizepetide. We'll be one of the first.
So yeah, and so we're always looking to see what's ahead. There's actually another GLP-1 agonist coming on board next year. We're already on it. It actually has 3 hormones in it. So the trizepetide has 2 and the semaglutide has 1. So they're getting better and better, and we're on it. We're on it already. So we're ready. We're ready for that one also. So, and the support groups, we're gonna try and teach you how to eat properly. Balanced diet. Not too much of a crazy thing. I mean, we can do keto diets, which is almost no carbohydrates. We can do paleo diet. We do it all. And so it's a balanced diet. Everything in moderation is really a good, sort of a good way to go. Okay, so.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that support group, because a question for you. I hear Michelle has a question too. Question for you, Dr. Clearfield. Since we get to do this show, we get to go all over the place, and that your support group will also. So with that, they get to be part of the support group, and we'll make sure we put a link up there too. We'll make sure look for that link, because it'll be on YouTube and it'll be wherever you'll see this video. But the question is to get some of the support that you're talking about, because it sounds like you could split things up to where if somebody lives somewhere else, that they could be part of this counseling, whatever you do to help with weight loss.
We have patients all over the country, and actually in Europe also. I mean, I have patients in Poland and in Austria, and we've actually started getting phone calls from the Philippines. So I don't even know how they find me, to tell you the truth. We give Michelle credit for that. She's out there, So we also do for a medical webinar on Tuesday nights at 5 o'clock Pacific time. We've been doing that for 4 years also. So so maybe we get some folks that way too. And all of our information is actually on YouTube also, and on our own website. So if I can give a plug, so Clearfield Medical Group on YouTube, there's well over 300 videos on there now. There's a lot of integrative medicine things with lots of different guests, and then there's some fun things on there too. We did some acupressure for libido. That was actually probably our biggest seller, biggest view on that one. And then there were some things during the pandemic that we had done, sort of before the things got a little bit crazy there. So there's well over 300 videos on there, and we add to them. We're still adding to them every week, 1 or 2. We're also teaching. We'll teach practitioners if they want to learn about hormones or functional medicine. So we do that. We have video courses, and we do live courses also if anybody wants to learn that. And then we're doing these support groups too. So we'll have Michelle get you the next time and date for the next one, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, the next one is on July 25th at 5:30, and we'll be putting the link. It's everywhere. It's on Facebook. It's on Nextdoor. We're definitely.
That's 5:30 Pacific, by the way.
Correct.
So 8:30 Eastern. Gotta let them know about that. And okay, and we have. In fact, I was interviewed by somebody in New Zealand last week, and she's been on our and she's an influencer in New Zealand. This lady, she was a runner. So.
That is great. Okay, so we have on YouTube right now, and anywhere this video is going to be live, we have the date of when the next one is, and then also we have the link, which is awesome, Michelle. And with you leading that and being a patient advocate, I love the partnership between what Clearfield is doing. As you can tell, he's been doing this for 40 plus years, and I love the personal stories, Dr. Clearfield. Yeah. I mean, to get the connection of what you've gone through and what you are, you're still moving along and discovering. I like your curiosity about this industry.
So, and I want to get, so when you mentioned that, I want to give you, so what my mother used to tell me, she'd say, you've been doing this long enough. You should know what you're doing by now. Thanks, Mom.
It's changing though.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
Like all the research out there, huh, Michelle?
Yeah.
I mean, Michelle loves this stuff as a, discovering all the stuff out there.
Well, and one of the biggest things too is the semaglutide and trizepetide doesn't work for everybody, but we have a pill form that combination that Dr. Clearfield put together, and people are losing weight on that.
Yes. And just to let you know, we also have what to do when you're done so you don't gain it all back.
Yep.
Yeah, we have that also. Okay, we got all that covered.
That's awesome, Dr. Clearfield. I was thinking about this. I was talking to some people this morning, and I think that's one of the scariest things, when you get to a point where you go, okay, I finally have that weight, because that's a stressor and you don't feel as good when you think you're going to gain it back. Like, it's the scariest thing when you look great. You go, how do I maintain that?
No,
so
I spent
that process.
Good amount of time, figuring out what to do about that also. And not everybody, it's never 100%, but we have a pretty good track record, and we'll put ourselves up against anybody.
So what else do you suggest for patients that have lost a lot of weight? I know you have some machines that can help tighten it.
Well, we have, we have like skin, some skin tightening machines. We have, devices. We have M-Sculpt is radio frequency and electrical stimulation, so they get some fat burning and body reshaping and skin tightening, so you don't have the skin hanging also. So we have that, and we actually put it together with the injectables also. So that's usually 4 treatments, and we do once a week. We'll do that treatment, and then we'll do it. And if we're going to do it with the weekly injectable, we'll do that. So we put, we put all these little things together, and we have another one for the face. It's again radio frequency. It's just it's heat, and it's just a little bit of ultrasound gel, and it's for the it gives you a facelift, and it'll give you a neck lift also. One of these days I'll do it for myself, take care of everybody else but not ourselves, right? So so we have those also, we do a sort of a full service non-surgical facelift. So we do all of the neuromodulators, Botox and Jeuveau and Dysport, and then we do the fillers, for lines, and we do a thread. We have a PDO threads, and we do a thread lift, which we really like doing those. So we do we have all of that. So we cover all of those bases. We fix you inside and out, and then we also have some rejuvenation techniques for I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on air. Down there, we'll just call it down there.
Yeah, I think it's politically correct. I mean, people have to know this stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, again, if my mother knew what I did for a living, so she'd have a cow.
Hey, I'm enjoying this, Dr. Clearfield. Michelle, do you have any more questions for him? I know we're getting to the end of this, and I just want to make sure we capture everything.
I think the biggest thing is I think you're really the only doctor in Reno that has been doing this program longer than anybody.
Yeah, we're coming up on 3 years now doing this, so we have a lot of experience. And again, I like another thing I'd like to say is I've made just about every mistake you can make, so I know what to do. So we avoid a lot of them now, and we avoid most of them now, and there's always something new though. So, but we have a lot of experience. We've been doing this for as long as anybody that I know of. And we continue to evolve and make ourselves better. So one of our goals is always whatever we did last week, we're going to do better this week. So and we keep going. So and
Love it.
Next time if you have me on, we're starting to look at some longevity issues. So how can we get you to live longer? In a good condition, not in a deteriorated condition. So I'll have some more. I'll have some more things for you shortly in the future. I'm giving a talk on that next week at the Nevada Osteopathic Medical Association.
How exciting! Hey, Michelle, you're going to have to take some notes. You can talk about this on your next podcast next week. This is incredible.
That's one thing I love about Dr. Clearfield. He thinks ahead.
Yeah.
And so many of his patients that come to him have been in conditions of, not having energy. He gets to the root of the problem. He's not, he does all this blood work and finds out you have thyroid cancer, finds out you have cancer and tells somebody to go get a mammogram, and they did have cancer. I mean, I'm very blessed that he's in our community, and he's really saving lives.
I love it. Michelle, do you I know that you've done a few different things, but you were diagnosed with Lyme disease, right? And
yes.
Were you working with Dr. Clearfield when you found out that you were being treated for MS, but then realized that there was actually more, the main stuff you really needed was to clear it was through that journey of Lyme disease?
No, it was not with him. It was with another doctor in Reno, but
I mean,
it was
that think about
Sage and Soul Wellness, where he is right now. They helped me with my Lyme disease. But one of the things that Dr. Clearfield found out I had was Epstein-Barr. So you're like, how many diagnoses can a person have?
I think we're working on 47 or 48 right now, right?
Oh, God. No. No. I just want to stay with the 8 and keep them in remission.
Yeah, keep everything else. But I mean, it brings up great stories and great personal growth. And having Dr. Clearfield in your circle, and I'm speaking to everybody here, is that as we circle back around here, is what we learned is that there is stuff.
You went blank. There is stuff that works.
It's not working. You realize this wellness clinic that Dr. Clearfield has been running, and he's been in the industry for 40 plus years, very curious guy. And you want to be with somebody like that because, like what Michelle said, that he'll keep going until he finds out like what really systemically what's happening, because that's what we want. And sometimes we're only dealing with the top level and infusing stuff at that top level. But with the curiosity, I feel safe with Dr. Clearfield. Dr. Clearfield, thank you so much for giving your heart, the stories, and detailed information so people know, what they're looking for.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, have a great day. I like the background. It looks like a beach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Love everybody. Excellent work. And if you have any more questions, you want to connect with Michelle Perry Roberts with her podcast, I am not my diagnosis. Dr. Clearfield, we have his link so you can get in. Once you opt into his link for weight loss, it'll get you all the information you need to get on live. It'll give you the dates. And Michelle, make sure those dates are for them when they opt in.
They are.
And I think that's it. I think we did it. Thank you, everyone.
So much.
Appreciate you. Mwah.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.